People in the house, happy Friday to everybody. Last Friday of the month. We are blowing by January, heading into February next week. Everybody stay warm. I know it's supposed to get cold this weekend, so everybody stay warm. Do what you need to do. But we're time to warm it up with a conversation. The Longhorn conversation today. Yesterday, we talked about grades. We started handing out transfer portal grades. I did that, the entire show dedicated to offense. I'll recap that today. But then today we're going to get into defense and special teams. Not going to leave special teams out of this at all. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Let me just put this right quick. Let me tweet that right quick from the South. And yeah, man, and let's get into these topics, these Longhorn conversations here. So we talk about the transfer portal. And good morning to you, Court. My man Justin, other Fragrance Rube is in here. So we're at the point, and let's just recap real quick. We're at the point where we are just about done with everything transfer portal related. Like you might have some stragglers, you might have some people who come in just a little bit late, but overall, transfer portal thing is done. Okay. It's kind of like free agency in the NFL, right? Where, and by the way, I think the second signing day is next week, by the way. I don't think Texas is doing anything. Yeah, that's crazy when you think about it. I believe there's a second signing day on Wednesday. Texas has got nothing planned to my knowledge. Maybe Sark will talk to the media, but I don't even know he'll do that, nor does he have to if he doesn't want to. But anyway, second signing is when we get it's like signing day is like the free agency, right? Where that first week or so, that's when all the elite people kind of come off the board, right? That's usually what happens. And now we're at the point where, and I still keep seeing this on social media. I still keep seeing this on X. And I'm surprised at how many people still don't get it, but I know y'all do. The deadline to put your name into the portal was it January the 16th, if I'm correct? That was the deadline to put your name in. But I keep seeing on X and people say, well, the transfer portal is closed. The transfer portal is not closed. The deadline to put your name into the portal has closed. But as long as you got in before the deadline, people can sign you from now until whenever. Quite honest with you, there are guys in here. Now, what's the difference is, my OCD part kicked in right here. The difference is the guys who are getting signed now, who may get signed now, we're not talking. These are going to be more depth pieces, more so than anything else. Like the Wake Forest receiver was in here the other day. These are depth guys, but these aren't necessarily guys that you're looking at and saying these are going to be day one starters. Day one starters, those guys came off the board a long time ago. It's not to say you can't find some hidden gems here or there, but for the most part, these are rotational guys. If they get into too deep, fine. But you also, if you're trying to hit 105 scholarships, then it just works out that way, right? So it's easy for me now to have the conversation about grades, and I'll be able to say, okay, now let's kind of look at this. And look, I gave offensive line grades on Sunday. I wrote a column. I gave my offensive line grades then. Now I've upgraded those grades once they made the acquisitions, right? So I'll review from you. What's up, Green Lantern? My OG over there, my fellow OG Green Lantern. It's cool. Did you see OG Green Lantern that T.I.'s got a new song out? I was like, oh, okay. It brought it back to the old T.I., by the way. And what's up, TEHJ? I still don't know what to do with it. You may have told me how to pronounce it or something, but I don't know what to do with it. But good morning to you. It's good to have you back. But Tip got a new song out. Anyway, so let's recap real quick what I talked about yesterday, and then we'll get into my new grades for the defense. Okay, so real quick, let's just go through it for those who didn't watch the show. You can go back. I did an entire show on this, so I won't go too deep on this. We'll just do this for a couple of minutes. A transfer portal grade. I gave a C from the quarterback position, and them getting MJ Morris and them losing Trey Owens. A C plus. Look, that's a hard grade, right? It's a really hard grade to grade because if I'm giving them an A, for me, giving them an A is saying they found somebody to compete against Arch, right? Um, to me, I'm not quite sure MJ Morris is better than KJ Lacey at this morning. What's up, Nate? I'm not quite sure MJ Morris is better. So that's why I gave that a C plus. Hopefully, he's a third string guy. Um, it's pronounced Tesh. Okay, Tesh. I'll never forget it, Tesh. Tesh. I like it. What is that? What does it mean? What's the origin of the name? Like my name's Arabic, so it means the light around God, right? Or light or something like that. I say light around God, but I've talked to Arabic, even though I was just raised in the South. Just my mom went for a different name, She just went different. But anyway, Tesh, good to see you, man. So I gave them a C plus for that one. And that was back in the 70s. That was like that real, movement thing where everybody was got, Green Lantern would tell you, everybody, the parents went like, we give them strong names. It's Kareem and it's Raheem, right? Like everybody went strong in the 70s. Like they were like, like it was a strong era back then. So my mom was like, I'm gonna do something different. Anwar. So anyway, that's how Onward came about. I'm in the 70s, baby. That happens. Running backs. I said I loved I love the additions of a Malik Brown and a Hollywood Smothers. For what they were lost, for Texas lost, and what they gained, I thought that was an absolute A for me. If they would have got maybe a guy who is kind of a goal line back who can do it all kind of thing, I would have gave that an A plus. But I'm talking about nitpicking. That's a nitpick grade because at the end of the day, as I mentioned, Arch is your goal line back. So because Arch is your goal line back, I'm not too upset with it. It's an instant upgrade. I love these guys. I love these weapons on offense. That was an A for me. But if that was an A, then the addition of Cam Coleman, that was my A plus. I was like, look, if you got Cam Coleman, one of the best receivers in the country, I don't care. I don't care. When he comes in and he's wide receiver one and he's going to have an impact, and there's going to be hell to pay on the defense, that was an A plus for me. I went with a C plus on the offensive line. I like bringing in Sinani. That's fine. You can have him at the right tackle position, bump in Brandon Baker. The new guy that they had signed as well, Seymour. Cool. We'll see what he does at the left guard position. They have a bunch of guys, Sikorsky, Seymour, like just a bunch of guys to compete for that position. If they would have been able to get a guaranteed, maybe one or two more guaranteed, check all the boxes, P4 kind of guys, I probably would have given this a higher grade. But for right now, it's a C plus, and that's probably where it's going to stay. And I think that's fair enough for them. The tight end position ends up being, Masunas they bring in from Michigan State. It ends up being probably a little bit of an upgrade over Jordan Washington, but Jordan Washington was a young man, so I can't really knock him right now. But it's a solid B for me, and a guy that you could say could come in and be a starter, right? So that's kind of like the restarting of the grades there. What does this say? What does he says? Oh yeah. By the way, this is true though. Hold on. I want to put this up there, even though it's like already up there. But Westerman does have a good point, right? He goes, if you go to 24/7 or On3 and pull up the portal page, how many guys are still looking for a home? There's a whole lot of dudes that are just stuck out. I'll tell you. Can I tell you? I'm gonna tell y'all something. Yeah, don't tell anybody about this. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna tell you something in real time. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna one up you on this one. Let me tell you. Let me stick with that. Let me hold on. This is gonna be worth the wait. So in all sports, for the 2026 calendar year. So, and not all sports, of all divisions of football, right? 1, 2, 3. There are currently 5,582 players, football players in the portal. 5,582. If I just go off of FBS, okay, FBS players, there are currently 1,023 FBS players sitting in the transfer portal without a home. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's crazier than what you think because 24/7 is only showing you a small part. That's not their job, right? 24/7 I'm not knocking them. That's not their job. But I'm telling you, the numbers are even crazier of folks who went and hopped in the portal, thought to themselves, I'm going to find something somewhere else. and like, and they got nothing. They literally broke up out of a relationship and now are sitting there by themselves. So yes, I'm glad you brought that up, Westerman, because and I'm glad it's a good point to raise, man. So thank you for that. It's some people got really bad advice, and a lot of these guys, it's hard, and we're going to get a defense a lot of grades, but I just say it like this: it's hard when you don't have people around you who are just telling you, like, sometimes you got to sit your ass down, and sometimes you got to be fair, and sometimes you got to have an accurate assessment of yourself and understand, like, you know, I can look at my son when he plays, and I can say, okay, these are the areas that he needs to improve. And I've never been a person that's like, oh, my son is great, even though he's plays at a really high level, but but I would tell him anyway. Anyway, we're thank you. I don't want to get on a soapbox. Let's get to our defensive line grades. And as a part of this exercise, here's what we got to do. The requirement is, good morning to you, text Blonde as well. The requirement is this: if I'm gonna put myself out there for all kind of criticism and ridicule, then you got to do the damn same thing. So I need your grades as well. I ain't gonna be the only one out here just taking bullets, and you ain't gonna take no bullets with me. Okay. So all right, let's talk about defensive line. Let's get into the defensive line and what that looks like. And I think these things are always good to look at when we look at what is lost versus what is gained. I think those are really always good places to start, right? So Texas doesn't really lose a lot on a defensive line. Nothing that any of you guys would really lose a lot of sleep over. Melvin Hills, the third, goes into the portal. Levon Johnson, a rotational guy, goes into the portal. There's nothing wrong with being a rotational guy, by the way. And then Texas is able to get, in return, they get Ian Gefford and Zion Williams. And again, I told you guys that, always look at this as a trade. That's not necessarily how you have to grade it, but you always look at it from a mental standpoint as this is a trade. Like, you traded this for this. That's how the people behind the scenes kind of view these things, and that's how they look at it. And I think that's the best way for you guys to look at it. And so, Ian Gefford is kind of a solid rotational piece. They get Zion Williams from LSU. He's kind of a young developmental guy up the middle. The thing is, when you look at the defensive line, at the end of the day, I mean, you still got Colin Simmons, you still got Justice Terry, you still got Alex January, you got Murad Watson, right? You still got a bunch of dudes there, right? So we didn't go into this thing saying to yourself, man, they need to replace a bunch of guys on the defensive line. And really, what helps his defensive line out a lot is that Hero Kanu decides that he's going to bypass the NFL. He's going to return for another season. Look, I don't factor that per se into my grade, but the retention part is pretty key, right? So it's hard to really ignore that. And so overall, you know what I should have done? Next time I'm going to get a sponsor for this. Because next time when I do this, I want to get a sponsor, and whoever guesses it exactly the same way as me, like, gets some sort of prize or something like that. Like, I'm going to work that out, because I looked at Darian and we are kind of at the same place. Now, Money B went C+. I'm not mad at you, Money B, for that. But Darian is there. Where's Rodolfo? Did he get banned again? But I'm going. I went with a solid B on the defensive line. Not a ton of additions, but you give me a rotational piece. You give me somebody who's going to go in there with their Green Lantern C plus. Like it's all good. I as long as no one's saying A and I'm stuck on B, right? Or someone saying F, right? And as long as we're in the ballpark, we're there. And I see a lot of season. Mike Torres, my guy, Mike Torres. You got to talk to me about the new guy that we signed, Mike. You got to let me know what your thoughts are on him. I'll take anybody who can score, Mike. It looked like that guy could score. All right, that was a quick Austin FC sidebar. We'll get back to our football in a second. This one's going to be more fun, though. This one is going to be fun. This one is going to be linebackers. This is definitely a fun exercise here because Texas loses Leona Lafau and then lose Elijah Bo Barnes. I felt like they lost more than that, though. Is that it? Hold on, let me look. Let me look at something. Is that all the only linebackers that Texas lost? Okay. All right. All right. He's all right. All right. I'm just checking on my guy. I don't know. I guess it lost so many people. I lost track of count. So they lose LaFau, and you say to yourself, okay, well, that's kind of, you felt it in the moment. You felt like, okay, that's a blow, right? And they lose Bo Barnes. And again, this goes to this tricky part that Texas has found itself trying to navigate. And again, when you're the GM, you're Sarkisian, right? You're Brandon Harris or you're Steve Sarkisian, and you got guys coming to you and saying, we want more money. It's hard. It's hard to say, I got to reward that. So you let that go. You bring in Rasheem Biles, Justin Cryer, and Marcus Boswell, right? So all of a sudden you get Rasheem Biles from Pittsburgh, Cryer from Florida State, and Biles kind of is a little bit of a long-term play, but kind of a future, future guy that they feel like can have an impact. But Biles is a guy that they feel really, really high on and really like a lot. Cryer might be a guy that cancels out LaFau when it's all said and done. And then you also get another guy. So when it's all said and done, this ends up being one hell, I think, of an upgrade for that room. And so because of that, and I think, look at this now. See, who gets surprised? I think it would be. I was really close to text blog. Went A minus, but I'm A minus. What are we talking about? The difference between a 93 and a 95? Is it A? I don't know. I didn't get too many of those in school. So y'all got to tell me what the A is. What's an A? 94 to 100? I don't even know. 96 to 100? I think it's 96 to 100. I don't even know. I didn't get too many of them. So y'all tell me what an A is. I got the other stuff. I know what the C's look like. As Quinn says, C's get degrees. So I went A minus for the linebacker situation, and I think you may lose stuff, but you add in some guys, and then you start thinking about Muschamp and the defense and the impact that the linebackers can have within that defense, and all of a sudden you say to yourself, okay, like Texas has done a really, really good job here. So I went A minus as relates to them. I like it, Nate. And yes, Tex Blonde, Biles is definitely going to be legit. Tex Blonde, have you met Sandman yet? Whatever happened there? This is random talk. Where is Sandman, by the way? All right, let's go DBs. This is random. Let's go DBs here. Where is my DB chart? All right. This one, for me, I love. I'm going to be honest with you. Love, okay? Because if you're able to go out and get somebody like Musco, who is and I think it's Musco or Masco, and I'll have to learn how to pronounce his name soon enough. But you go out and you get you could say, oh, it's Rutgers or whatever. But if you get somebody who's a proven Big Ten starter with 2 years of eligibility remaining, and a guy who's an honorable All Big Ten, in that conference, playing on that team, like we're not talking about a guy who was at Ohio State or Indiana, right? We're talking about a guy who got recognition from playing for a program like Rutgers, and now put him in Muschamp's system, and now put him in this defense. And I look at what's lost, and nothing against those guys, Santana Wilson or Caleb Chester, but I look at what's lost, and I'm like, hell to the yeah. If you tell me this is where Texas gets, oh yeah, all day, every day. It's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like the Cam Coleman, and I couldn't give him like that kind of Cam Coleman-ish kind of grade. But when I looked at it, I thought overall Texas Ball went A plus. I went A. Again, we're all kind of in the same fat, but when you get yourself a guy who could be an all conference player at that level with that program, and now it's just like all I need to do is put some dudes around you. Like, you haven't even had a Colin Simmons applying pressure to make your life easy yet. You know what I'm saying? You haven't had a Hero Canoe up the middle that makes your life a little bit easier, right? You haven't had that yet. You haven't had these kind of linebackers. You haven't had an offense that is scoring points, and now all of a sudden you're on defense, and they got to throw because they're trailing. He hasn't even had that kind of luxury. Imagine him in this kind of. I love it. I love the addition. This is the thing. This is a sidebar for a second. One of the things I was talking to somebody behind the scenes about, and it was like I think it was earlier this week or over the weekend. I can't remember. But in any case, what they were saying, it was really true. He's like, you guys, media could focus in on the offensive line, and look, we could have done better there. But if you look at what we've done overall, you can't be mad at it. And I'm like, no, you're right. You're right. If I look at it overall, it's kind of like, and what their point was, like, look, everybody wants the perfect team that has all the perfect components. And we would love to have that too. But what we have is pretty damn good. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And realistically, Texas is strong in, let's say, 9 out of 10 areas. That's going to be better than most teams. Now, we're going to look at the one thing, which is going to be the offensive line, right? And that's going to be the one thing you're saying to yourself, like, whew, I don't know. But everything else, if you can say, man, that checks the boxes, then Texas has done its job as relates to the transfer portal, recruiting, developing, all those kind of things, right? This will be technically a better team than they were last year. Technically, on paper, everyone's got to stay healthy, coaching, like all those kind of things that, factor in. But if all those things go well, then yeah. So anyway, DBs, I just want to kind of add in that part of the conversations, because people really it is important to do appreciate what Texas does have. And yeah, hit the like button. My man Green Lantern is on it. My man Green Lantern is on it. Green Lantern, I saw Tony Rock do stand up last week. I went out to Houston. That which was cool. It was coming back was a little bit crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Probably won't do that again. But you got to see him if you haven't seen Tony Rock. That dude is hilarious. All right, special teams. My man Jeff Banks. Where Jeff Banks at? Where Jeff Banks at? That's one thing about Jeff Banks. Oh, Jeff Banks gonna get players. I don't know if Jeff Banks. I don't know. He must bring Sark like his favorite lunch every day. He must know what kind of coffee Sark likes. I don't know where he goes. I don't know if Sark is a coffee guy or not. I don't think he is. I haven't noticed like stained teeth or anything like that. I don't know where we go, but I don't know if he brings a favorite lunch. I don't know if he orders Uber Eats every day. But Jeff Banks is going to get his guys. Now, as much as I'd like to joke about Jeff, as long as I like to pick about Jeff, and I love to say things like Jeff Banks probably offered some gunner down in South Florida, right? And I get it. But all jokes aside, they lost a kicker, a punter, and a long snapper. And Jeff Banks did everything, and Jeff Banks replaced those guys. Okay. Um, he was able to get them. And so as much as what I want to joke about with him, at the end of the day, y'all know football well enough to know you don't appreciate a long snapper until you see somebody snapping the ball over someone's head, snapping it to the left or to the right, or those kind of things. Like you don't notice it until it messes up, right? The punter, you don't really notice that you have a good or don't have a good punter until they're shagging punts. And you're like, what the hell is this? Right. And the same thing goes for the kicker. Now, the thing is, for my grade for this is really interesting because my grade, where is I gave this an A minus. And here's why I went to an A minus on this one. And I don't know. The issue with me that brought it down a little bit is it Septic? I believe, if I would pronounce his last name Septic, and hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Um, Septic, unfortunately, from a field goal perspective, I would like to have seen a little bit more consistency. He was 15 of 20 on field goals last season, 49 of 49 on extra points. Um, but 15 of 20, and again, I still would like to see a little bit better than that. So that's why I ding it a little bit, but an A minus. But if you give me a guy who's kicked at a high level already, and look, I always think kickers, I'll just be honest with you, I always think kickers are 50-50 from damn near any range. Like I never, and then listen, I ain't trying to bring up bad memories, but y'all remember the Cal game many years ago? Remember Gerard Hurd scores? I believe Gerard Hurd scores, and all Texas needs is an extra point, and then we're about to go into overtime, and the kicker misses it, the extra point. I give up on kickers. Like I've given up. Like whatever happens. Like if they make an extra point, great. If they miss it, not surprised. If they make a 35-yarder, awesome. If they miss it, I mean, I never know, right? There's only so many elite guys out there. So as long as he's serviceable, as long as he's not being forced to make 52-yarders or anything like that, then we're good. And like yes, if you just score a bunch of points, there's that, right? So let's do a couple of things. Let's just do a quick portal review. This is the final tally of guys who transferred out versus guys who transferred in. And again, as you look at that list and you look at the guys who transferred out, but then you look at what Texas was able to get in return, you don't look at this thing and tell yourself, Texas really took an L. You look at it and you say to yourself, overall, Texas probably upgraded in just about every position. You would have loved to see a more of an upgrade, obviously, from the offensive line. But if you look at everything else, it really is an upgrade. Now, maybe Trey Owens and MJ Morris, maybe that's a wash, right? Maybe that's a wash. Maybe Will Stone and Spectic. Oh man, I hate to mispronounce it. Gianni. Maybe that's a wash, and everything else looks pretty strong. So these end up being my final portal grades here. C plus for the quarterback, A for the running back, A plus for the receiver, a C plus for the offensive line, B for that tight end position, B for the defensive line. Uh, linebacker A minus, DBs, and special teams, right? Overall, I mean, some of you guys, if you guys had that report card, your kid brought it home, some of you guys would be upset. I read this book, it's called like Parenting from Your Strengths, and they said something really interesting. They said it was like a lot of times the kids will bring home a report card and we as parents will focus in on the C's and not really praise the A's that the kids get because we always kind of put our minds towards the negative. And they said, like, but if you focus a lot more on the A's, then eventually the kids usually bring up the C's. And so when I look at the C really from the offensive line perspective, more so than the quarterback, because I don't really, I hope there's no scenario where MJ Morris sees the field this year outside of a blowout game, whether it's the two non-conference games or whether it's Oklahoma, which seems to be a blowout every year. Texas better beat that ass again this year. Or I have Oklahoma fans in October just showing up randomly. We don't need them problems. I haven't seen Opinion Sports Show in a while, or I forget the other dude's name, but I always remember it when I see it. Nonetheless, overall, I would say from a transfer portal perspective, you should be able to view this as a success for Texas and what they were able to do. And look, we'll see if they will pull off anything else over this weekend and anything, but it won't be anything quote unquote spectacular, but it might be just good enough. Winter conditioning, Bo, thank you. I haven't seen Bo in a while. That's okay. I guess they go and what do they do in the off season? Where they go start shopping for overalls or something over there? Like I don't. What do they do over in Oklahoma? I don't know. Anyway, could you imagine grown ass man wearing overalls to a game? Like, you're like can you imagine Tex Blob, you meet some dude and he's like, "Hey, you want to go to the game?" You're like, "All right, I guess I'll deal with it." And you're like, "Hey, just so you know, like I'm Oklahoma fan. I hope you don't hold that against me, but I hope we'd still go and have a good time." You're like, "You know what? I guess I'll just suck this one up." Okay, all these guys, every guy comes with their set of issues. I'll just work through these challenges, and then he shows up wearing overalls to pick you up. Do you even go? I know the answer to that. The answer is probably no. All right, y'all. Let me get out of here. It's Friday. Go out and have a fantastic day. Have a fantastic weekend. Y'all remember what I say. Live each day like it's your last, because one day it will be. So go out, do something nice for yourselves, do something special for yourself. Enjoy it. We don't have Super Bowl this weekend. So I don't know what the hell we're going to do. We're just going to have to find something to do to occupy our time. And then we can get on Orange Bloods and outside that, just go out and enjoy life. Y'all was all locked in last week, so go out and enjoy. It's gonna be cold as hell, but go out and enjoy your life. And I will be back with that. By the way, Vashon said maybe one morning I would love to see end of the season grade. Oh wait, okay, hold on, Vashon. Whew. Because you took the time to type that out, Vashon, I will put that on the screen. I would love to see end of the season grades, portal grades, and new grades with portal and first year students, because we might only have a C in some areas of the portal, but we're not factoring the new guys coming in from high school, right? Yeah, I think, Vashon, if we're just doing grades based on where this team is at now, going into spring ball, winter conditioning overall, like how strong it is, I think, just off the top of my head, I think the only C we would probably give might be offensive line. And realistically, if we say there's 4 starters on the offensive line and you only need a left guard, Vashon, you might be able to talk yourself into like a B minus on that one. I'm just thinking about, because I'm just trying to think. I was just starting to think of the lowest grade. From there, it might be a C plus, B minus, somewhere in there. Everything else, Arch A, running backs A, wide receivers A. That's a minimum. Like you may go A plus if you go Wingo, Mosley, and Coleman. You might go A plus with that. Tight end rooms strong, defensive line room is strong, linebackers are strong. I would think the offensive line might be the only thing that you give like a maybe a B-ish kind of grade, and I think everything else would probably be in the A category, Rashawn, if I really think about it. I'm going to think about it, but I was just spitballing off the top of my head. It's a good exercise, though. I appreciate you pointing it out, dude. Anyway, maybe I'll do that this weekend. I'll think about that. I like it. I like where your head's at, though. That's good. That's good looking out. All right, y'all go out. Have a fantastic weekend, man. Stay warm. Make sure your pipes don't bust and nothing like that. And then I'll see you guys on Monday. All right, everyone.